Ever feel like you're constantly saying yes to everyone else while your own dreams gather dust? You're exhausted, resentful, and somehow living someone else's version of your life. Here's the truth. Everything you've been taught about putting others first is actually keeping you trapped. Choosing yourself isn't selfish. It's absolutely essential for your authentic growth and contribution. Jung's individuation theory shows us something profound. When we stop abandoning ourselves for others' approval, we don't become self-centered or narcissistic. Instead, we become whole, integrated humans capable of genuine connection and impact. This isn't about becoming selfish, it's about becoming yourself. And the transformation, nothing short of revolutionary. In the next few minutes, I'll reveal exactly what happens when you finally prioritize your authentic needs, and why it might be the most important decision of your life. Ready to discover who you really are? If this resonates with you, hit that like button right now and share in the comments one area where you need to start choosing yourself. Subscribe to join us on this journey of self-discovery that's already changing thousands of lives. Carl Jung's concept of individuation reveals a profound truth. Becoming your authentic self requires facing what lies beneath the surface. This journey toward wholeness demands confronting what Jung called the shadow, those disowned parts of yourself deemed unacceptable, inconvenient, or threatening to your carefully constructed identity. The shadow contains everything you've rejected about yourself, your anger, desires, creative impulses, and power that didn't fit the mold others created for you. When you deny these aspects, you don't eliminate them. You create a battlefield within your own psyche. This internal war has real consequences. Jung discovered that suppressing your authentic nature creates a fundamental split in your consciousness. It's like living with one foot on the gas and one on the brake, exhausting yourself while going nowhere. Consider what happens when someone ignores their true calling. The psyche doesn't simply accept this betrayal. Instead, it creates symptoms: persistent dissatisfaction, unexplained anxiety, or a gnawing emptiness that no external achievement can fill. Your authentic self demands expression, and when denied, it communicates through suffering. This suffering manifests in countless ways. You might feel constantly drained despite adequate sleep, or find yourself inexplicably irritable with those closest to you. Perhaps you've experienced that peculiar emptiness that arrives after achieving everything society told you to want, only to discover it brings no lasting fulfillment. The most insidious effect is the quiet resentment that builds when living someone else's script. Each time you silence your intuition to please others, you're not just disappointing yourself, you're actively participating in your own diminishment. Jung's solution wasn't self-indulgence, but self-realization, the courageous integration of all aspects of your being. This process isn't comfortable. It requires acknowledging parts of yourself you've spent years denying. It means questioning cherished beliefs about who you are and what you're capable of. But here's where everything changes. When you prioritize your authentic self, that debilitating inner conflict begins to dissolve. Energy previously consumed by internal resistance becomes available to you. Clarity replaces confusion. Vitality replaces exhaustion. This transformation is essential not just for personal satisfaction, but for your ability to contribute meaningfully to the world. You cannot give what you don't possess. You cannot offer authentic connection, creativity, or leadership from a place of self-abandonment. The choice to prioritize yourself becomes the foundation for everything that follows. It initiates a cascade of self-awareness that transforms not just how you feel, but how you show up in every relationship and endeavor. This isn't self-absorption, it's the prerequisite for genuine presence and impact. When you begin to choose yourself, something remarkable happens, a series of initial shifts that transform your inner landscape. These changes don't happen all at once, but rather, like the first rays of dawn breaking through darkness, they signal the beginning of a new day in your life. The first shift occurs in your energy. When you're constantly living according to others' expectations, you're essentially running on borrowed power. It's like trying to power your home with your neighbor's electricity. There's always interference, resistance, and inefficiency. But when you choose yourself, you tap directly into your own power source. Many people describe this as feeling more alive or having access to reserves of energy they didn't know existed. Consider Sarah, a corporate lawyer who spent 15 years building a prestigious career that her parents had envisioned for her. Despite her success, she felt perpetually exhausted, requiring increasing amounts of caffeine just to function. When she finally acknowledged her suppressed desire to work in environmental conservation, something unexpected happened. Even before she made any external changes, simply honoring her authentic desire created a surge of energy. It was like I'd been breathing through a straw my whole life, and suddenly I could use my full lungs, she explained. The second shift happens in your decision-making. When prioritizing others' needs and expectations, decisions become complicated calculations of potential reactions and consequences. You're constantly asking, will they approve? Will they be disappointed? Will this damage our relationship? This creates a fog of confusion that makes even simple choices feel overwhelming. When you begin choosing yourself, decision-making clarifies dramatically. This doesn't mean you become inconsiderate of others, but rather that you have a clear internal reference point. The question becomes simpler. Is this aligned with who I truly am? This clarity doesn't eliminate all difficulty, but it provides a compass that makes navigation possible even in complex situations. The third initial shift occurs in your relationships. Many fear that choosing themselves will damage their connections with others. Paradoxically, the opposite often happens. When you stop abandoning yourself to please others, you become capable of genuine presence rather than resentful accommodation. James, a middle-aged father, had spent decades being the yes man in his family and workplace. He realized he had no idea what he actually wanted because he'd never allowed himself to consider it. As he began honoring his own needs and setting boundaries, he braced for backlash. While some adjustment was necessary, he found that his relationships actually deepened. For the first time, people are getting to know the real me, he shared. And surprisingly, they seem to prefer it to the hollow version I was presenting before. The fourth shift manifests in your creative expression. Jung believed that creativity isn't just for artists. It's how the psyche naturally functions when unobstructed. When you choose yourself, ideas and insights that were previously blocked begin to flow. This might appear as solutions to long-standing problems, new approaches to your work, or artistic impulses you didn't know you possessed. A fifth significant shift happens in your physical body. The body keeps score of our self-betrayals. Chronic tension, digestive issues, immune suppression, and sleep disturbances often accompany living against your nature. As you align with your authentic self, many report that physical symptoms they've struggled with for years begin to resolve. Your body recognizes when you're coming home to yourself. Perhaps most importantly, choosing yourself initiates a shift in self-perception. The voice of self-criticism that has been your constant companion begins to soften. Not because you've become perfect, but because you're no longer at war with yourself. This isn't about becoming arrogant or self-satisfied, but rather developing what Jung called a friendly relationship with yourself. These initial shifts are just the beginning. They create the foundation for deeper transformations that follow. As you continue this journey, these changes consolidate and expand, creating ripple effects through every dimension of your life. The path isn't always smooth. Choosing yourself will challenge your deepest conditioning and trigger resistance both internally and externally. But these first glimmers of change provide evidence that you're moving in the right direction. What makes these shifts so powerful is that they occur naturally, without forcing or manipulation. They are simply what happens when you remove the obstacles to your authentic expression. Like water finding its natural course after a dam is removed, your energy begins to flow in alignment with your true nature. As these initial shifts take root, you'll begin to experience deeper transformations that reshape your entire relationship with yourself and the world. These profound changes don't happen overnight. They unfold gradually as you continue to choose yourself consistently, even when it's difficult. The first major transformation occurs in your relationship with fear. When you've spent years prioritizing others' expectations, fear becomes your constant companion. Fear of disapproval, rejection, or abandonment. But as you practice choosing yourself, something remarkable happens. You develop what Jung called the courage to be disliked. This isn't about becoming callous or deliberately provocative, but rather recognizing that universal approval is impossible and not worth the sacrifice of your authentic self. Michael, a marketing executive who had always been terrified of conflict, described this shift. "I used to physically shake when expressing an opinion that might be unpopular. Now I can state my truth calmly even when others disagree. The world doesn't end when someone disapproves of me." That realization has been incredibly liberating. The second profound transformation happens in your sense of identity. When you've built your life around meeting others' expectations, your identity becomes externally defined. You are what others need you to be. As you continue choosing yourself, you experience what Jung called individuation, the emergence of your unique, differentiated self. This process can be disorienting at first. Many report feeling like they're meeting themselves for the first time, discovering preferences, values, and desires they never knew they had. Emma, a 42-year-old teacher, described it as like peeling an onion in reverse. Instead of getting smaller with each layer removed, I kept expanding into a fuller version of myself. The third transformation manifests in your relationship with purpose. When living according to others' scripts, purpose is often reduced to achievement or acquisition, getting the right job, house, partner, or status. As you choose yourself consistently, a more authentic sense of purpose emerges from within. This inner-directed purpose isn't something you need to frantically search for. It reveals itself naturally as you align with your true nature. Jung believed that each person carries a unique seed of potential that seeks expression. When you choose yourself, you create the conditions for this seed to germinate and grow. David, a former financial analyst who transitioned to teaching after a health crisis, explained, "I used to think purpose was about achieving impressive things. Now I understand it's about contribution, using my unique gifts in service to something larger than myself. The irony is that I had to choose myself first to discover how I'm meant to serve others." Perhaps the most significant transformation occurs in your capacity for genuine connection. Many fear that choosing themselves will lead to isolation, but the opposite proves true. When you're living authentically, you develop what psychologists call secure attachment, the ability to be fully present with others without losing yourself. This creates the foundation for relationships characterized by mutual respect rather than codependence. You no longer need others to complete you or validate your worth, which paradoxically makes you capable of deeper intimacy. As Jung noted, the meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. These deeper transformations don't come without challenges. As you continue choosing yourself, you'll inevitably encounter what Jung called the shadow. The disowned aspects of yourself that have been suppressed in your effort to gain approval. These might include anger, ambition, vulnerability, or power. Whatever qualities you've been taught are unacceptable. Integrating these shadow elements is essential work, but it can be profoundly uncomfortable. You may experience periods of confusion, guilt, or fear as you reclaim these disowned parts. External resistance often intensifies as well. Those accustomed to your compliance may push back against your newfound authenticity. Lisa, a people-pleasing mother of 3, described this challenge. "When I started setting boundaries and expressing my needs, some relationships became temporarily strained. My mother actually said, "I don't know who you are anymore." That hurt, but I realized it was actually a sign of progress. I was finally becoming myself instead of her idealized daughter. The path of choosing yourself isn't linear. You'll experience setbacks and moments of doubt. There will be days when the pull of old patterns feels overwhelming. This is normal and expected. Transformation of this magnitude doesn't happen in a straight line. What sustains you through these challenges is the growing evidence of your own experience. Each time you choose yourself and witness the positive shifts that follow, your confidence in this path strengthens. The voice of your authentic self grows clearer, while the voices of conditioning and external expectation gradually lose their power. As Jung himself wrote, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." This privilege isn't granted by external permission. It's claimed through the daily practice of choosing yourself, especially when it's difficult. The deeper transformations that result aren't just personal indulgences. They're essential preparations for making your fullest contribution to a world desperately in need of authentic, integrated human beings. Now that we understand these deeper transformations, let's focus on practical steps you can take today to begin choosing yourself. I'll break this down into actionable strategies based on Jung's concepts that you can implement immediately, from mindset shifts to daily habits and relationship dynamics. First, let's tackle mindset. This is about rewiring how you think about yourself and your choices, drawing from Jung's emphasis on self-awareness and integrating those hidden parts of you. Start by questioning the stories you've been telling yourself. Ask, "Am I doing this because it's truly me, or because I'm afraid of what others think?" Jung talked about how denying your authentic self creates inner conflict, so flip that by practicing self-compassion. Every morning, spend 5 minutes affirming that your needs matter. As Jordan Peterson writes in 12 Rules for Life, we deserve some respect. You deserve some respect. You are important to other people as much as to yourself. This isn't fluffy stuff. It's grounding yourself in the reality of that choosing yourself builds the foundation for everything else. To make it concrete, consider exploring shadow work. Jung believed we all have a shadow, those repressed traits and aspects that we've buried to fit in. This is actually complex psychological territory that requires patience and sometimes guidance. Begin with gentle self-reflection. What qualities have you been hiding or denying? What parts of yourself do you judge harshly? Rather than trying to immediately transform these aspects, simply acknowledge them with curiosity. For instance, if you've suppressed your assertiveness to keep the peace, notice when this pattern appears in your daily life without immediate judgment. This mindset shift creates space for self-acceptance, which is the first step toward integration. Next up, habits. These are the daily routines that make choosing yourself automatic, inspired by Jung's tools for self-discovery. Build a journaling practice, not just venting, but exploring your inner world. Jung used journals to dialogue with his unconscious, so try this. Each evening, write about a decision you made that day and whether it aligned with your true self. If it didn't, explore why without judgment. Over time, this habit reveals patterns, like how ignoring your intuition leads to that empty feeling we discussed earlier. Another valuable practice is developing awareness of your dreams. Jung saw dreams as messages from your deeper self, though interpreting them is more art than science. If you're interested in this approach, start simply. Keep a notebook by your bed and jot down any dreams you remember upon waking. Don't pressure yourself to analyze them immediately. Just notice recurring themes, emotions, or situations. For example, do you often dream about being unprepared or unable to speak? These patterns might reflect your waking concerns about authenticity or expression. Consider them gentle nudges from your unconscious rather than definitive messages. This practice gradually builds your relationship with your inner world. Now, relationships. This is where choosing yourself really tests you, but it's transformative, aligning with Jung's view that true connections come from wholeness, not sacrifice. Start by practicing honest communication. When someone asks for your time or energy, pause and check in with yourself before responding. Jung's idea of individuation means showing up as your full self. So express your needs clearly, like, "I appreciate you asking, but I need to focus on my own project right now." This might feel awkward at first, but it prevents resentment and fosters mutual respect. To integrate this, try boundary-setting exercises. Identify one relationship where you've been over-accommodating, then have a gentle conversation about it. Reference Jung's insight that when two authentic people meet, both have the opportunity to grow. And if pushback comes, remember it's often about their adjustment, not your worth. Over time, this habit strengthens bonds because you're connecting from a place of security, not depletion. All right, we've covered mindset for the inner foundation, habits for daily practice, and relationships for real-world application, all rooted in Jung's principles without overlapping what we've discussed before. Now, here's the key. You don't need perfect conditions to start. Right now, pick one step, maybe that morning affirmation or a quick journal entry, and do it today. Imagine the freedom, the energy, the purpose waiting for you. As Apple's famous Think Different campaign reminded us, here's to the crazy ones, the misfits, the rebels, the troublemakers. They're not fond of rules, and they have no respect for the status quo, because they change things. Be that person for yourself. Start small, stay consistent, and watch how choosing yourself ripples out. You've got this. Go make it happen. Now that we understand these practical steps, let's explore the ultimate outcome of choosing yourself. What happens when you fully commit to this path long-term? This isn't just about quick wins. It's about stepping into a life of genuine inner peace and fulfillment, where you're fully aligned with what Jung called the self, that core, integrated essence of who you are beyond the masks and compromises. Picture this. Over time, as you integrate those shadow parts we discussed, the inner conflicts begin to fade. Jung described the self as the archetype of wholeness, the center of your psyche that brings everything together. When you prioritize it, you're not chasing fleeting happiness. You're cultivating a deep, unshakable calm. No more second-guessing every decision or feeling that nagging emptiness. Instead, you wake up with a sense of purpose, knowing you're living authentically. Research from the Journal of Analytical Psychology has consistently shown that individuals who engage in Jungian-based self-integration processes report significant improvements in psychological well-being. Dr. James Hollis, a Jungian analyst and author of Finding Meaning in the Second Half of Life, notes that patients who commit to this work experience reduced anxiety, stronger resilience, and even improvements in physical health as the body responds to decreased psychological stress. Let's recap the essential insights we've covered throughout this journey. We began by identifying the trap of always saying yes to others, how it drains your energy and blocks your dreams. We discovered how choosing yourself isn't selfish, but essential for genuine growth and meaningful impact, aligning with Jung's individuation process. We explored how confronting ignored aspects of yourself replaces exhaustion with vitality and purpose. We then examined the initial shifts, that surge of energy, clearer decision-making, more authentic relationships, and unleashed creativity, all natural outcomes rather than forced changes. Going deeper, we explored developing courage in the face of disapproval, discovering your unique identity, finding authentic purpose, and forming more meaningful connections. Yes, challenges arise when confronting resistance, but these are integral to your growth. Finally, we equipped you with practical tools, mindset shifts like self-compassion and shadow exploration, daily habits including journaling and dream awareness, plus boundary-setting techniques to transform your relationships. As Jung himself wrote in The Development of Personality, the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. This isn't just philosophical wisdom. It's a practical path to living with greater purpose and impact. When you choose yourself, you contribute from a place of wholeness rather than depletion. Consider the profound insight from Viktor Frankl, Holocaust survivor and founder of logotherapy. Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. This perfectly captures the essence of choosing yourself, creating that space to respond authentically rather than react from conditioning. So here's your call to action. Start today. Embrace that authentic life waiting for you. The peace, the fulfillment, it's all there when you choose yourself. You now have the understanding and tools to begin this journey. What's one small step you'll take right now? Perhaps it's a moment of honest self-reflection or setting that boundary you've been avoiding. Remember, as Brené Brown's research on vulnerability and authenticity has shown, you either walk inside your story and own it, or you stand outside your story and hustle for your worthiness. Choose to walk inside your story. Choose yourself. The world needs your authentic contribution more than your exhausted compliance. If this exploration of Jung's wisdom has resonated with you, subscribe for more insights on psychological growth and practical ways to enhance your life. Let's build this community of authentic living together, because when we each choose ourselves, we create a world of genuine connection and meaningful impact.